Hey people, how we doing? Thanks for coming back for round 2 of the real podcast of Lifeaneurs, right? I want to get right into it. I don't want to sugarcoat anything else. We're going to go right into this next category. If you missed the first one, please go back and watch and listen to the first podcast where I talked about the 6 pillars of leverage that the smartest people in the world use in order for them to create leverage and live free, right? We're talking about money, we're talking about relationships, technology, resourcefulness that you bring to the table, and so on and so forth, right? So go back and listen if you haven't listened. It's a great listen. It's only like 40 minutes. But today, I'm going to talk about something that's super sensitive still in this day and age with the majority of people that I talk to on a daily basis, right? We're talking about the money game. This podcast is called The Money Game Exposed, right? I really want to go really in depth and give you people some real perspective on where we are in money in the 21st century. I'm talking about 2019, where we are today, right? And how we've evolved over the last almost 30 years in towards of money and the depreciation of money and how to make more of it, okay? So first, I want to start off with going over some statistics on people because a lot of people have a real big misunderstanding on money and what is actual legit income and so on and so forth and how they can make more of it and so on, right? And so I created a sheet that I call the top 1%, okay? The top 1%. And Jarrett, let's make sure we put this top 1% on the website so people can actually see this in real time. You know what I'm saying? All right. So I want to go over what the top 1% of Americans make by age group and what their net worth actually is in 2019. Okay. So if you are between the ages of 25 and 30 years old, the top 1% income makes $160,000 a year. And they have a net worth of $80,000. So if you have a net worth of $80,000 and you make $160K a year and you're 25 to 30 years old, you are in the top 1%. Congratulations. But what are you doing to leverage that, right? If you're 30 to 35 years old, you have a $400,000 net worth, and you're worth about making about $200K a year, right? Now, if you're 35 to 40, you're making $250K, and you have a little bit over $1 million net worth, right? If you're 40 to 45, you're making about $320,000 a year, and you have a net worth of about $3.2 million. Now, they always say that these are your income years, your benefiting years. These are the years that I'm actually looking forward to. I don't know about you, Jared, but I'm looking forward to these years. 40 to 45, man, no more child support. All my kids are old now. They're all getting super expensive still, but, be able to make great money, have great assets, and so on and so forth. But it gets sweeter. Here's the cool thing. From 45 to 50, average person in this country that's in the top 1%, they make $400K a year. The reason why I'm bringing this to your perspective, your full perspective, is because I want you to understand that the top 1% of people in this country, they don't make $1 million a year. So you can live and have a great life on making $4,000 a week and investing that money strategically. The average guy who's 45 to 50 years old has a net worth of about $5.2 million worth of assets. Okay? But here's the crazy thing. people from 50 to 70 years old, the top 1% from 50 to 70 on up is 470K. It doesn't go up. From 50 to 55, from 55 to 60, from 65 to 70, it doesn't go up. It stays at $470,000. Now the net worth goes up. But if you are 65 years old with more than $11.750 million, then you're at the top 1% of the United States of America, the richest country in the world, right? Now, I want to bring that into perspective, right? Because everyone I talk to, so many guys, so many kids, so many 20-year-olds that are just getting out of college, they're all trying to achieve this, financial freedom. And in their mind, it's like millions of dollars. They have to make $20 million, $5 million, $100 million. I want to be remembered. Dude, you could do so much with $90,000. You could do so much with living 21 years old, 22 years old, in sales, making $70,000 a year with no kids, no mortgage, right? And you don't have to actually get involved in that, right? You can actually live a great life. So I want to go through a little bit of these rules. If you're one of these high achievers, right? This next thing I'm going to talk about with you is meant strictly for you, okay? What I want to go over with you is one of my rules that I have for being successful and being able to leverage money to your full advantage, right? Now, let's just say hypothetically you're 25 years old. You're making $50,000 or $60,000 a year, right? One of my rules as a Lifeaneur is to have a financial minimalist lifestyle, right? I can't tell you how many broke doctors that I have met in my life or how many broke attorneys I have met in my life. These guys literally residually make $500 to $1 million a year, or how many broke athletes that I've met or that have filed bankruptcy that I've heard about, making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they go broke because they don't adopt a minimalist lifestyle. Now, let me just tell you, okay, what a minimalist lifestyle is to me, Rob Clark, right? And this is a struggle for me as well. This is one of my things. But a minimalist lifestyle is somebody that spends 30% or less of their net income that they touch. If you're a W-2 employee and you touch $1,000 a week, that less than 30% of that money goes to covering all of your personal expenses. So if you make 10 grand a month that you touch, 3,000 a month max can go towards paying your mortgage, paying your auto loan, paying for your cell phone, paying for new clothes, paying for vacations, right? The other 70% has to be put aside for future investments, right? What do the richest people in the world do, right? They buy all your stuff when the market crashes. Do you have an idea how many guys that were worth like $5 or $6 million that was able to collateralize their money and make $100, $200 million profit off of buying real estate in 2008 when the market completely crashed and the banks were just giving away these notes to get rid of these non-collateralized assets anymore, because they weren't monetizing at all. They were collateralized, but they weren't cash flow producing, right? They had all of this debt that wasn't making them any money on their books. So they were throwing them away for 30 cents, 20 cents on the dollar, so that they can then use that cash to go back into the business they're familiar with, which is the money game, giving out loans, giving out credit cards, and they make money in that game. They're not in the real estate game, right? And so you have to put yourself, and I mean you have to, you must. If you don't, you'll never get ahead, I promise you, right? You have got to stack cash. I know it's hard because you want that Mercedes Benz. You want that girl to think you're something that you're not. You want that Louis Vuitton bag. You want that Coach, that Prada glasses, right? And what I'm telling you is if you spend your hard-earned money on luxuries, then you will never, one, master the money leverage and never live free. You will always be financially stressed out. And life, when it does happen, because I guarantee you in an 80-year time frame, you will experience 3 to 5 different economical crashes that will affect you financially, whether you realize it or not, and it will affect you, right? So in the money game, number one rule is 30% of your income or less has to go towards paying for all of your stuff, all of your wife's stuff, all of your kids' stuff. It has to. So you have 2 options in this situation. If you're listening to this right now, you have 2 options. One, get rid of all of the stuff that is causing you to be above the 30% scale, right? If you're making 10 grand and you're spending 8 grand of it on your stuff, then when opportunities presented for you, you're not ready for it. You won't be able to take advantage of it because you're too consumed in paying for your stuff that really doesn't mean anything towards your legacy or towards you becoming financially independent and free, right? But you have 2 options. Option 1, you can minimize all of your expenses to the best of your ability. Get rid of all those stupid subscriptions that are irrelevant. They're not giving you any value, right? And option 2 is literally to figure out a way to double or triple your income through leveraging the other 5 pillars of leverage outside of money, right? If money's an issue for you, then leveraging the other 5 pillars. You know, when I was broke, you know, the one thing that really helped me was relationships. I would go out and look and find new relationships and find how to give those people value. And when I found out how to give those people value, guess what I got in exchange? I got money. And then when I got money, I invested all of the money into myself. And I grew myself. I went to masterminds. I went to some Tony Robbins seminars to grow myself, personal development. I've read over 1,000 books. On my Audible right now, I have over 450 books, and I've given it away to my kids and my employees, and they have access to it, and it's all free of charge. Go ahead, I pay for all of it. It don't matter, right? But the thing is that people don't use it, right? You have any idea how many people I've given access to my Audible that don't use them? They don't. Literally, you have over 2,000 hours of recorded knowledge that I've listened to, all of it, and nobody listens to any of it. Nobody. Maybe the exceptional person will listen to one. But the money game, dude, I'm telling you, you've got to be a minimalist. You've got to have 30% of your income or less, right? Warren Buffett is predicted to have less than 1% of his monthly income cover all of his expenses. And he gives away about 15 to 20% of his income to charities. He gives away 16 times more money than he lives on. His only real expensive thing that he has is a jet. That's it. Because he loves the game more than he loves the luxuries. And that's fine, right? So rule number 2, we never buy luxuries with hard-earned money. We only buy luxuries with asset-producing cash flow money. That's it, right? And so if you have a business, right, and that business makes you $200,000 a year, and you don't have to spend but maybe 20 or 30 hours a year in that business, and you want to spend $50,000 on luxuries, then guess what? All do it. Go ahead. Beautiful. Have fun. Enjoy that Bentley. Enjoy that vacation. Enjoy that mastermind. You deserve it, right? But if you are working for somebody 2,000, 3,000 hours a year, and you're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, then you need to be putting aside 70% of the money you touch for you to invest in yourself and be able to get outside of that game. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped in that employee game forever, right? And so now I want to go over some other traps in the money game. I want to go over amortized loans. I don't think people really understand what a mortgage actually is. And a true story was I had my son and his friends came over the house and they wanted to learn a little bit more about money. And my son is bragging that, his dad knows a lot about money and he knows about these pillars. And so his friends are all about making that money. They want to be able to buy the nice shoes and buy the luxuries, and they're full of consumerism. It's absolutely insane, the level of consumerism and how brainwashed even kids are in towards of being a consumer, right? And so we went over how a mortgage is, and I gave a really simple story of what a mortgage actually is at the nucleus of an atom, right? And what a mortgage is I'll give you a simple example, right? Super simple, right? You have a $100,000 loan, right? I give you a $100,000 loan, you buy this house, right? But you're not buying the house, I'm buying the house for you. I'm going to hold the title and all the assets and everything else, but I'll let you live in it, okay? You're going to pay me $1,000 a month for 30 years, okay? And for the first 5 years, 85 to 90% of every single payment you make every single month is going to go in my pocket and not even count towards your principal, right? How would you like to spend $1,000 a month on your mortgage and only have $100 to $150 be counted towards your principal, right? And if you really think about it, right, what is 360 months over 30 years times multiplied by $1,000? That's $360,000. You're going to pay for that house not once, not twice, but 3.5 times, right? That is the way your 3.3 or your 4.0 or your 2.9% APR interest works on an amortized loan. Now, it's very simple like that also on student loans. I've met countless students. I'm a student myself. I graduated. I had student loans, right? And I've met people who are paying their student loans for 10 to 15 years, paying what, the Fannie Mae and Navient has set up for them. And after 15 years of making their payments, they owe double even with the payments than what they originally took out. It's absolutely insane, right? So how crazy is it that you get a bachelor's degree in business, you get a bachelor's degree in education, you get a bachelor's degree in communication, all that other stuff, you get $60,000 to $70,000 in student loans, and you don't even know how to understand or interpret an amortized loan. You don't know what the difference between amortized loan and simple interest, right? But you have a bachelor's degree in business, right? And so the one simple way there actually is a link on my website that has a 30-minute video on how to get rid of an amortized loan, right? All I got to do is search amortized on my website, and it'll pull up the video, right? If you go to how to pay off a mortgage in 7 years on YouTube, there's about a dozen videos that break it down for you. A mortgage is no different than a student loan or an auto loan. It's all amortized. It's just some of those loans, like a student loan or a mortgage, are amortized for more than 20 years. And so the effects are super huge to where you can measure them. But if you go and watch this video on YouTube, I don't want any credit, right? I want you to save $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $200,000 off your mortgage and invest it in something that's going to help you master leverage and live free. Invest in yourself. Go to a mastermind now because you just cut $30,000 off your interest, right? Learn how to play the financial game yourself, right? Another thing I want to go over is growth in income. Remember when we saw this cheat? It was crazy. I got to show this sheet. Where is it? I got to find it. It is, there we go. Here we go. Beautiful, right? I saw this. I educated my kids on it. I tell my kids everything, right? And so did you know that in 1990, a 4-year education, 4 years of tuition at a collegiate college cost $30,408. And today, it's over $98,000 for the same education. That is a $98,000 amortized loan that, if you don't know how to pay off, will be there forever. Will be there forever unless you know how to pay it off. Okay, the average home in 1990, right, was $100,000. And now it's over $240,000 for the same home, right? So student loans have gone up over 300%. Mortgages, cost for the same real estate has gone up almost 2.5 times, right? A gallon of gas in 1990, the average gallon of gas was $1.12. Now it's just under $3, right? So 300% markup, about 290% markup, right? The cost of raising a kid in the U.S. in 1990, the average was predicted to be around $120,000. Now it's over $260,000 to raise a kid. I'm talking about daycare, food, diapers, formula, clothes, technology, and it's going to get even bigger than that if you add in all the other stuff, right? And here's the kicker, right? So all of this stuff has gone up 200, 300, 400%. The average income for a household was $52,689. And in 2019, it's less than $58,000 today, right? So student loans have gone up over 300% to get the same education. And your income has only gone up over the last 29 years, whatever. It's only gone up 7.5%. So 300% more for the same education with a 7% bump on your income, right? Now, let me just put this in perspective for you. You have a household income of let's say $60,000 to be safe, right? You and your spouse each have $100,000 in student loans. You have a $300,000 house. You're paying $3 of gas per gallon for 2 cars. You have 2 kids, so you're paying over $600,000 to raise these kids. And you have 2 vehicles that ran you over $40,000 each. How in the world can you pay any of that off and live within the 30% minimalist lifestyle, right? I'm not even talking about technology like your cell phone or your computer or your internet or your cable or your television, right? Or your electric or your gas. I'm talking about just a 4-year degree, owning a home, paying for gas, paying for kids, paying for a new car. All of those things equal almost $1 million. How in the world, with it having the amortization, are you ever going to be able to live below 80 or 90% of that with that? It's insane. And that's why you see like kids, like I have a lot of kids that work for my wife at her shop, and all the females there all say they don't want to have kids because they can't afford to have kids. Isn't that crazy? They can't afford, they're already in their mind. They're in their young 20s, and they're saying they can't afford to have kids. It's insane, right? Like, how in the world can we do it? You have got to master leverage. You got to. You got to learn the money game. If you're not learning the money game, then you're out, right? And so I want to go into the workforce. There's another little thing that I had. It was into the workforce, right? Did we know that the largest workforce in the United States today is age 25 to 34? That's the largest workforce in America, with almost 30 million Americans working in that age group, and they make less than $40,000 a year on average, okay? So let me go through the average income by age and how populated that workforce age group is, right? So between the ages of 16 and 19 years old, you got about 1.7 to 1.9 million workers at that age group. Average income, less than $22,000 a year. From 20 to 25, there's about 10 to 10.5 million employees nationwide. Average income, $27,000. $27,000, right? From 25 to 34, there's a little bit over 30 million workers, right? Average income, $39,000. So let's just say you and your spouse are the same age. Let's say you're between 25 and 34 years old, okay? You guys both make $39,000 a year, right? So we're going to talk about, what is that? 40, we'll just say 40,000 each, right? 39. You guys together make $80,000 a year. You have to pay Social Security. You have to pay Medicaid. You got to pay state and federal taxes. And then if you have health insurance, you got to pay for that as well. And then you're allowed to touch whatever's left. So let's just say there's about $60,000 left, right? Because that's where the average household income number comes from, right? Two people making $40,000 a year each and having $60,000 left after Social Security, Medicaid, state and federal taxes, and paying for health insurance, right? You have $60,000 to now pay off your student loans, pay off your mortgage, pay off your auto loans, pay for your car insurance, and so on and so forth, and pay for your kids, right? Pay for your car payments, right? And so let's just do the math on that. That's $18,000 a year that, under my rule of being a leverager and living a minimalist lifestyle, that you and your spouse would have to make your car payments, to pay for your kids' stuff, to be able to pay for your mortgage. $18,000 a year or $1,500 a month, where you would have to cover all of your bills. Who can live on $1,500 a month in this day and age? You have got to make more money. You've got to make more money, right? And the only way you can make more money is by delivering more value to the marketplace. Notice that I said marketplace and I did not say your current employer. There's a huge difference, okay? Your current employer might give you a pay raise or might work out a commission compensation plan for you or whatever the case may be, but that is the worst way to try and increase your income in the fastest period of time. You've got to be able to figure out ways how to deliver value to the marketplace, to the end consumer, right? I'm teaching my son right now how to be what's called a flipper. It's funny because his sister says that he's a scammer, right? He buys things on Amazon and eBay, yard sales, and thrift stores, and he tries to sell it on Amazon, eBay, and to his friends all over the place, right? And so he bought a book bag from a thrift store for $10, right? And this kid in his class bought it from him for $20. His sister called him a scammer. I call him a capitalist, right? If somebody wanted to buy it, then sell it to them, right? Like I have a buddy of mine who sells cars. He buys cars at an auction for like $3,000 to $5,000, or let's say $10,000. He fixes it up for $2,000 or $3,000, and he sells it for $25,000, and it sells like that. It sells instantly. He posts it online on Craigslist, KSL, and whatever else. Ads drive a lot of traffic for him. He pays their fee, and he sells the car, and he makes $10,000 to $15,000 per car selling it this way. Now, that's called the business. Now, he is giving value to a marketplace on a much bigger scale, right? You're used to and trained and taught to sell your most precious commodity, which is time, for peanuts, right? Let me just give you another example, right? Say you're making $100,000 a year, and after taxes and everything else, you're touching, let's say 75, right? Let's just say you're touching 75. In order for you to be a minimalist lifestyle kind of person, right? You would have to spend less than, let me do the math, $22,500 a year, which is $1,875 to cover your mortgage, your car payments, your car insurance, your gas, your utilities, paying for your kids, paying for your wife stuff, buying Christmas and birthday presents and everything else, cell phone bills, interest, everything. Right? Less than $1,900 a month. If you're making $100,000 a year, it's impossible. You've got to learn leverage, and you got to start living free. So I hope you guys got value out of this. Look up amortized loans if you have a mortgage on YouTube and learn what an amortized loan is, and learn how to save yourself $200,000-$300,000 in interest, please. And then grab that money and invest it in yourself, into different courses, educations, and different things on YouTube that you can learn for free so that you can make more money. And when opportunity happens, because this market is going to crash. And when it crashes, guess what? Either you get to be a victim of it, or you get to be a shark of it and capitalize on the opportunity that are only presented during crashes. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. And if you saw value in this, then share it with a friend. And remember to listen to podcast number 1, where we talk about the 6 pillars of leverage. I'm going to go over and try to be able to set you free and be able to give you the real education that school today will not give you. I'm telling you that if you have your kids in school right now and you're worried about their degree, you're worried about their grades, you're worried about your investment, guess what? It's a waste. It's a waste. You need to be focusing on helping your kids to be able to learn and master how to have great relationships with people, how to build great relationships with people, how to be great communicators. That's the only thing I care about them going to school for. So invest that $60,000 of student loan money, rather than investing it in education. Invest it in paying a corporation or an entrepreneur or someone that knows how to do leverage. Spend that money with them to teach your kid how to be free. Don't give it to a university, because now they're not even universities. They're now hedge funds. Harvard's not even a college anymore. They're a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. Thank you very much for the $1.4 trillion debt, or 1 trillion, whatever the actual number is. Don't quote me on that. I know it's over $1 trillion in student loan debt, with over 42% of student loan people that have to pay back their loans right now are not even paying it all. They're not making any payments at all on their student loans. So again, thank you for your time. Subscribe. Share the value. Learn and pass on the knowledge. And remember, at Lifeaneur, our motto is to master leverage and live free. Thank you.